Oh, there you go. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Oh, now I can see you. I can see you. Can you see me? Can you see me? You can't see me. I can see you. I can see you. Can you see me? Can you see me? Are we here now? Welcome to the show. My name is Dean. Nice to see everybody. It's Friday. We are still under a weather advisory here in the Greater Toronto area. Toronto, Ontario, Canada is where we are. Yeah. We've had 2 straight days of just bullshit weather. We're going to get another 2 straight days of bullshit weather. But you know why? That's okay with me. I don't feel as bad about being inside all the time working, right? It's one of those things. I was thinking about it today. Woke up, still shitty outside. I'm like, fuck, I don't have to go for a walk today because it's so garbage outside. And I didn't feel bad staying in the house. Not one bit. I was like, this is fucking great. I'm going to stay here and not feel guilty about going out because I do have that guilt. I get that stress of like, you should go out, you should do more, you should do this stuff. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going anywhere. For the last 48 hours, I haven't even left my house. I ordered groceries, ordered snacks. I just ordered everything today. I'm just ordering things to bring to me. I feel like a king at this point. This is what bad weather does for me. See, most people are looking at it like, oh, I can't get to work, and this is a pain in the ass. I don't even have a car right now. My car's in the shop. Active Green and Ross. Take it to Charlie. He's the greatest guy in the world. Active Green and Ross and Markham. Go to Charlie.
What's
Tell
wrong
Charlie
with the
I sent you. I don't have a Nissan. I've got a Hyundai. I got a Genesis. It's an old Hyundai Genesis, and it just needs a little TLC. Right. That's right. So I don't have a car, and I'm doing nothing, and it's okay. That's the benefit of this shitty weather. So while all of you in the Greater Toronto area are going, oh, this sucks. Oh, no, it doesn't. Take it easy. Order online. Make yourself a nice corned beef like I did this morning. It's been in the slow cooker for 7 hours. I'm going to eat the fuck out of that thing later on tonight.
I saw it. It's sexy.
It is. It's hot. Yeah. Anyway.
I have don't take the dog for a walk guilt. Like when it gets below -20.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, and even he'll step outside and he'll kind of look at me and go, what are we doing, old man? Like, why? This sucks. Yeah. We really need to do this because I've got a warm spot in there where I can lick my balls. And I don't need this in my life right now. But I have this wild guilt. I never had guilt about not hanging out with the kids, like ever. What is that?
It's sociopathy. That's all.
Is it?
Yeah. Is it? You know why I'm laughing? Is because I understand exactly what you're saying. When you're like, fuck, get these kids away from me. But the dog would look at you with those eyes. You're like, go for a walk. You're like, sure, I'll pay attention to you. But get these fucking children away from me.
When the kids were like potted plants, when they were just sitting there, just shitting and smiling, right? I might have had a little bit of guilt that I wasn't, spending enough time with them. But once they started telling me off, which was about 3, I had girls.
They started to talk.
Yeah. And then it was all over. That's why I love spending time with the dog. That's why you feel bad that you didn't take your dog for a walk. You don't feel bad not necessarily spending time with your kids. I have basically adult kids now, so it doesn't really matter. They don't want to spend time with me anyway. They're like, hey, Dad, I'm going to this thing. I'm like, you want me to come? No fucking way do I want you to come with me. But the dog, like even the dog will just look at me and like, I'll do whatever with you, dude. And so you're like, fuck, of course I want to take you for a walk. I feel guilty not hanging out with you, but you don't feel guilty not hanging out with your adult kids because they want nothing to do with you, right? So it's
what I like about my kids now.
What's that?
Is I can drink with them.
Like hammered ass drunk? Do you get do you get 12 bell drunk? Do you really?
Yeah. My daughters don't. My youngest, not a huge drinker, but she'll get into the tequila every once in a while. My oldest, though, she's like, let's do this. She's a drinker. You'll see.
After old man, eh?
You'll see at the Big Sugar Show.
I'm coming out.
When you come out, when we go to the River Cree, the girls will be into it.
Oh, that'll be fun. Do they get annoying drunk? Because if they're like, because I've watched you drunk. You're not an annoying drunk. You know when you hang out with people that are like,
oh yeah.
They're great people. You hang out with them, you give them more than 6 spritzers, and they're like, let's go to the casino. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me, you idiot?
My daughter, my oldest, is a little annoying all the time. So if you add alcohol, she's really
amplified.
Loud.
Yeah.
Like I love my kids. I really do. Yeah. But I'm honest about what they are and who they are, and they are with me. And my oldest she explodes into every room she gets into. And it's just, it's full on 10. And and you're just like,
and
I'm a
idea where that
loud
comes from.
guy, right? Like, it's not me. Honestly, Linz, you got to see it. I'll bring them over to your house and you'll see. Like, it's just like, all right, everything's a fucking party. Everything's a 10. Like, it's the pedal to the mat with her all the time.
That's good. That's she's happy. She's
high
to have a good time. Yeah. I
wish you'd turn it off every fucking once in a while though.
When we had
she reminds you of you, doesn't she? That's your problem. She reminds you of you.
She does have, both of them have traits of mom and they have traits of dad. Right? Yeah.
She reminds you of you. That's the thing.
My youngest got all my crazy. All my anxiousness.
Do you ever apologize to your kids for how you brought them up? You ever sit them down and go, I got to say, I'm really sorry for giving you all this anxiety and stress. You ever do that? You ever do that with your kids where you're like, hey, sorry about the psychopathy I handed down to you. Sorry about all the craziness that you don't do that?
No, I don't think that's a thing you should do.
I think it is. I think it is because you know what I was thinking? I was talking to my kids the other day about it, and I'm like, they're like, remember when he did this? Remember when he did that? And I'm like, yeah, I've apologized for all that. It wasn't like I did anything. So we were just yelling, screaming. The youngest guy spanked a few times. I'm like, yeah, fuck. I get it. I know. And I'm like, hey, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I was a dick when you were a kid because they love me. Like they think and I'm super grateful, super fortunate because I don't deserve it. I think most parents would feel that way when they've got older kids where you're like, I don't deserve the kind of love you give me because I was way too young when I had kids and I didn't really know what I was doing. Wasn't overly involved. When you get to a party, you're like, yeah, you go over there because I've been with you for the last 72 hours straight. Go over there in the corner. I don't want anything to do with you at a party. Like that kind of stuff. Now I feel bad about that growing up. And I don't feel bad about it like guilt. I don't carry around guilt. It's not one of those things because I believe I'm a good father now. Like I really do. But there are days now where I go, guys, sorry about being such a douche when you were born. Like I do it. And you know what? They like it. I think that it's like, holy fuck, you're like a human being, Dad. You're not this guy that tells us the way it works and then goes and does whatever he wants to do.
I guess when you get older and the kids are older, it's not bad. But I don't think it's something you should have with anybody under the age of like 21. I just think that's setting yourself up. Because I'm sorry, every parent transfers onto their kids some sort of a core memory of trauma. And it could be inadvertent.
And even if they've had the best life in the world, they all seem to find something to hang their hat on about their childhood and how you shaped them or damaged them.
I just think when they're actually when they're actually an adult that's on their own or whatever, that they're no longer in your care and control. It's a conversation I would totally have. But I just think when they're young and still, you're still their guardian at that point. I don't know if it's a smart thing to do.
Oh, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
But I could be wrong. I mean, listen, I've been wrong about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Parenting is.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I think I'm more on Lynn's side of the court here. I think
admit no fault till they're 21 and then go fuck.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
He takes it. I take it to about 65%. Lock brings it home.
I look back at what I did and I do not feel bad for how I raised my kids. They're both very well-established, strong, independent. They're going to be wildly successful. We set them up. If anything, I wish they had a little bit more respect for what we gave them and what we provided them. I look back at what I went through and how it shaped me and who I am today, and I would not have it any other way. I wouldn't trade what happened to me for anything. Nothing. I like how fucked up I am. And
do you feel like you were owed an apology from anybody?
No. Where my problem with my family now, specifically my side, is I take issue with the lack of. I take issue with the fact that my side of the family doesn't know my kids. That's what really bothers me.
Okay.
I've spoken out about that a couple of times. to my mom and not so much my dad. My dad and I have a different type of relationship.
Yeah.
I still need to do the whole Dean's done all this. Like, I still need to drive to Kamloops and
what's all this?
You've sat down and gone, all right, oh man.
Let's chap it out.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Are we good? Because I was mad at you for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's go get drunk together. I haven't done that with my dad. My dad carries a lot of guilt about what happened because he was young. He was 17. He was a dad at 17. And then he took off on my mom and remarried and has been with the same woman now for like since the 80s. I was at the wedding. And again, I held a lot of I had a lot of hard feelings about my dad over the years, and I've let them go. I've let all that go. But I still need to get to that point where I drive down there and spend a week with them. Or
you will. I'll
do it at some point.
Yeah, because and here's the thing: I will say this: it's not your job to fix your family. It's your job to die happy, right? And if you make those decisions, because this life's about you, it's not about anybody else, right? Yes, you're not doing these things to bring your family together. You're doing these things that you want to do, and you're going to go and have that conversation, or you're not. Honest to God, it doesn't really matter, but you will, and you'll decide when you want your life to be what you say you want it to be. Everybody does. But until that point, you won't. Like, nobody does. Everybody's like, fuck, you know how much heavy lifting's involved in that? I just don't feel like doing it. I don't think I'm equipped. Well, you're not equipped because of your parents, right? Like, that's how we're all.
I'm not equipped. That's why I haven't done it. Yeah. You know what my dad does? My dad goes on bike trips all the time. He's got he's in an Indian motorcycle club in Kamloops with a bunch of old dogs. And these assholes, they get on bikes and they drive all over North America. And I was like, fuck, you know what I should do? I should learn how to fuck. Well, I rode bikes when I was a kid, and I actually did. I did enjoy it quite a bit, but I haven't for years. I didn't have money to buy a bike. One thing, and I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe in my 50s here, I'll buy a bike, learn how to ride the damn thing, and then Dad and I will go on a bike tour or something like that. At some point.
Do it.
So actually,
I might do that.
Yeah, why not?
I've been sort of at the back of my mind, but that means have you ever seen a 6'4", really awkward guy throw a leg around a bike?
Yep. My brother's 6'8" and the president of a club. You'll be fine.
I'm going full in. I'm going to do the assless chaps. I'm buying it all.
Yeah. But you know what? It's funny because all the things that our parents do create who we are, right? And which is really kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about today, which is weird because it's an end run to our topic, which is what Elon Musk is doing right now. Have you guys been paying attention to the news over the past 24 hours? If you go to deanblundell.com,
speaking of
parents, you can have a look at literally how bad parenting creates bad people. Like it's fucking one of the great things in the world. And we have an example of that bad parenting.
Disagree.
Oh, just
of course
wait.
you do.
Some guys make it out the other end okay.
I haven't gotten to the point yet, so you can't disagree. Well, you can disagree after I get to the point, but when I'm laying out the story, you can't necessarily disagree.
I like getting in front of it.
So everybody's aware of Elon Musk tanking like 7 journalists on Twitter yesterday, big time journalists, CNN, NBC, Washington Post, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to who they are. So it happened yesterday. Last night, I come back. Linz does this incredible story on him pumping. You can go to deanblundell.com and read about it. And the impetus for it. The impetus for him getting rid of journalists, basically going back on everything to do with free speech, which he championed when he said he bought the thing, which isn't why he bought it. And folks, he is a fucking con man, and we're going to prove that today. So let me kind of take you through what happened. There was this guy named Jack Sweeney. Jack Sweeney operated a Twitter account called Elon Jet, at Elon Jet. And he's like 20 years old. He's just a little nerd, little incel guy. He's like 20. And he's like, I'm going to follow Elon's Jet around with a Twitter account. It'll be fun. You know how, and there are millions of accounts that follow planes around because tail numbers are publicly available information. And there are a ton of exchanges that follow live flights. boats, transportation. That's how we've been following all the oligarch boats, by the way, is that these things have to have a signal and a number and a beacon, right? So anybody can follow them publicly. So this guy was just retweeting public information. Now, about a month ago when Elon bought this thing, he's like, I'm such a good guy. I'll even allow the guy running Elon Jet to keep his account. Now, fast forward to a couple of days ago. He then decides, I've had enough with Elon Jet. And the reason why is because he's an asshole. It's not that anything happened despite what he says happened. And I'll tell you what he says happened. Now, this is it. Here's a tweet. This is Elon Musk getting angry because he said the Elon Jet posted his exact real-time location, the account, basically assassination coordinates in obvious direct violation of Twitter terms of service. Now, Twitter terms of service were changed yesterday as well. He changed the terms of service so he could do this. He actually wrote a new terms of service thing. It's like any real-time location information, you get pumped from Twitter forever. Now, why did he do that? Interesting. I'll tell you why he did that. And here's the reasoning that he did it. He did it because he said some people were following his son from the airport in Los Angeles, and they're crazy, and some guy tried to kill his little son that he had with Grimes. He calls Little X, right? So Bellingcat Discord member Sepulco geolocated a video Elon Musk posted overnight, the video of this kid that was following him, and fascinating, not only was there not a flight, he was nowhere near the airport, which Elon said that guy had tracked him and his son from to assassinate him. It's a lie. The whole thing was a lie. And he used that lie and he created this lie so he could legitimately, and this is fucking great, unload anybody that talked about him and his jet. Anybody. And it had nothing really to do with his jet, did it, Rye? Like,
not
it had more to do with him going, you know what? This is the excuse I'm going to leverage to go and unload and ban Twitter accounts belonging to left-wing journalists who I fucking hate. And there were a lot of them, weren't they? Like 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken.
I think there was 8 at the last count that I did, but I think more may have trickled in overnight and then also into this morning because people were tweeting about what was happening, and they were getting banned for tweeting about the people tweeting about Elon Musk's jet. Like,
show us some of the tweets, because this is fucking, this is truly unbelievable. Like,
so this was Donnie O'Sullivan, who's from CNN. He's the Irish guy. Yeah, and he was tweeting. Yeah, he got turfed. Yeah. So Donnie got turfed for talking about the investigation. So the media's gone and they want to know about Elon's kid getting assaulted or whatever, the car getting followed.
Assassination coordinates.
The assassination attempt on Little X, I guess. Sounds like a rap video. And
Kingston.
What's his name? Donnie said LAPD Threat Management Unit is aware of the situation tweeted by Elon Musk and is in contact with his representatives and security team, but no crimes have been reported or filed yet. Like, nothing has happened. Nobody's called the police. The police literally had to reach out to Elon and say, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Matt Bender, who I believe is from the Washington Post, or he's Mashable. I can't remember which. He's the tech guy. He said, I just shared this straight news update posted by Donnie, and moments later he was suspended, because he was immediately, just for talking about this goddamn jet. Keith Olbermann was talking about Bender and Aaron Rupar. Aaron Rupar was also suspended. So Keith Olbermann tweeted about it and said, here's a plan. Everybody just retweet a screenshot of his tweet, blah, blah, blah. Minutes later, Keith Olbermann's account was zapped. And there was 7 or 8 more. I think it was in my article. I wrote about it last night. I wrote it so fast. Ryan Mack from New York Times, Donnie Sullivan, Drew Harwell from the Washington Post, Matt Benders from Mashable, Mika Lee from The Intercept, Aaron Rupar, Tony Webster, I'm not sure who that is, and Keith Olbermann, all within seconds of each other. We're all just, they shut their accounts down.
That is,
and permanent bans too, permanently. They said it's a permanent. They said
he said they're permanent bans, but then here's the thing: is because Elon's such a self-involved doucher, he does 2 polls. Right? Here's the first poll that he does after he legitimately broke his own fucking terms of service after reimagining the terms of service so he could break the rules of the terms of service.
Yeah.
This is what he puts up. Should I unsuspend accounts who doxed my exact location in real time? That's a lie. They never did that. loses. He loses his own fucking. He loses his own Twitter poll. Now they said he's got to do it. He goes, because I lost. Sorry, too many options. We'll redo the post. He puts
sounds
up
like
a
an
second
American
one.
election.
He loses that one by even more. Now 3.2 million votes said now you have to reinstate these people, you doucher. And it wasn't just him. Barry Weiss, Barry Weiss, the chick who put out part of the Twitter files. She's the Substack girl. She's an Elon proxy. I'm not sure if he pays her. He took issue with what she said because she disagreed with what he did. Old regime at Twitter governed its own whims and biases. Sure looks like the new regime has the same problem. I oppose it in both cases, and I think those journalists who are reporting on a story of public importance should be reinstated. And if you want to see what offering up real-time geolocations look like on Twitter, Lauren Boebert did it when she told everybody to go and find the Speaker of the House and kill her in the House chambers on the 6th. So she's still got her account. And here's the fucking fascinating part to me. Is if the new terms of service are indeed correct, which means you cannot post a picture of exact real-time locations of anyone or anything on Twitter anymore, which is what that rule is, right? That's what he changed it to.
Yeah.
That means anytime you post a picture of a get-together, family Christmas,
though, like
people can report you and you can be legitimately banned for life because he didn't think it through because he's a fucking con man.
Can I ask?
Lochnlin.
Can I ask you guys both a question?
Please, yes.
Show me on the doll where Elon touched you. You guys need to let it go.
You can't. This is the biggest story in the world.
It's great.
The European Union is going to kick Twitter out of Europe. They just announced that today. Elon Musk has destroyed free speech on this app after lying about it. No, close down in the middle. Right there. And then turn it around. That's where he's touching everybody. Right there.
Right in there.
Right in the old stink star. Right in the bung piece. The whole hand. He's got it in there. He's working us all like puppets. I do, because it is absolute fucking entitlement from someone who was brought up by a legitimate sea hag. Who is the sea hag? Great question. Not Keith Olbermann. Have you seen his mom? Have you seen his mom? Elon Musk's mom, Mae Musk. Have you seen her? What's this her? She was a Sports Illustrated cover model. Mae Musk. I think she's 81 or 82.
Good for her.
She's doing good.
Not bad.
Doing good.
Wood, by the way, just so you know, wood.
You'd have to move Elon from the one teat to get to the other, I guess.
I know. Yeah. Look at her. Look at her. She looks good.
She looks great.
Anyway, this all made sense to me today because Elon Musk's mom entered the chat. May.
Mommy.
She tweets this out, a response to a guy named David Axelrod, who was like, that's a pretty fucking autocratic move there, Elon. She took exception to it. You know how John Kay's mom came in? She's like, leave my son alone. He used dog shampoo. Remember that? And he got embarrassed. How fucking embarrassing that is to have a parent helicopter in to try and save their adult child who's over the age of 50. Mae Musk tweets today. Correct your tweet to practicing safety for families. It's a priority on Twitter, but not for the media, unless you disagree. His mom came to his rescue today. Mommy
Here's the thing.
Mama.
Can I say this?
Mom.
I got to be brutally honest with you.
Mumsy, help me, Mumsy.
If I was the owner of Twitter, I'd be a raging dick.
I had that.
I'd probably block you too.
Like, we'd be the first on the list.
Honestly, it's his. He bought it.
I agree.
He owns it. He's gonna make mistakes, and you're not going to agree with him. And there's going to be hypocrisy, but there was before. This is just another version of it.
Yep.
It's all this is. And you know what? We already know what he is. We've shone a light on it so much that we know what kind of a dick he is. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm just think it's a good idea for you guys to be pointing it out, because he might end up waking up one morning and seeing one of your one of your tweets or stories and then banning all of us from Twitter.
Awesome. Go ahead. Who gives a fuck? I don't care, dude. I'm operating like I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. And to your point, you're right. I'm egregiously sick of this entire subject. But every day he says something, does the opposite to the 10th degree, and you've got governments around the world going, cut it the fuck out. You're a national security risk. You're a threat to the freedom of speech. And he's literally doing exactly what everybody said he was going to do when he bought it. Dude, hang on. He's literally doing the exact thing everybody said, listen, he's going to get rid of all the left-wing fucking influencers. He's going to load up this big cabal of guys like Ian Miles Chong and not Aaron Rupar, Viva Frey, Barry Weiss, Matt Taibbi. He's going to grab this group of people, and he's going to try and convince everybody that what he says and what he does is the law, and you don't have to worry about it. Well, what he did was fucking illegal. What he's doing is fucking illegal. Now, to your point, he also owns it, and I kind of have a little bit of respect for a guy that's like, you know what? Fuck it. I spent $44 billion. It's mine. It's a private company. I can do what I want. I totally understand that. But the stories that are coming out of this are worth a conversation because of what they say about the individual. And keep in mind, his mom, May, who says the safety of families is very important. She's referring to a lie that he used so that he could get rid of people on Twitter. He's referring to a literal lie. And that woman watched her husband beat the shit out of the Musk kids for years. So she's really not that interested in public safety, to be honest with you.
So
that's a good point.
The thing that bothers me about this stuff isn't what he's doing. Like, you guys are showing examples. It's a lack of accountability, and this is why I try to stay away from this stuff, because and you guys keep talking about it, and it drives me fucking insane. You're welcome. It drives me, not the Elon Musk thing. What drives me is insane is you say one thing and you do the complete opposite. I can't stand it. But there's countless examples of it all the time. Politicians, business owners. We got it coming and going all the time, right? And it's insane to me that if you do something, like, I would have so much more fucking respect for you if you just step up to a mic and go, yep, I don't like that kid following my plane. Fuck him. I blocked him. It's mine. I honestly, I swear to God, why make up some rule or create? And this is I want to get to that point in the world.
He's a pussy,
right? Yeah. Like, I honestly want to get to that point in the world where more and more people are doing
just say what you're thinking.
Not just politics, people at work. Like, we are so scared of other people's feelings, and it's just, we got to get over ourselves. We really do.
I always thought the Elon jet thing was creepy right from the get-go, to tell you the truth, but I understand where the kid was coming from in the beginning. He was just kind of a fanboy, and it morphed into, this guy's a piece of shit, and I don't like him anymore, so I'm going to keep this going. So I get that, and I would totally have understood if he said, fuck that, that's enough. We're not following my plane. I totally respect that. But to go out of his way to say, just to avoid admitting that I don't like something. This is just fair. It's only fair for everybody, not just me.
Fuck off.
It's for you too. Yeah. That disingenuity that drives me fucking nuts.
That arrogance of thinking everyone is so fucking stupid they're just going to believe what I have to say drives me absolutely insane. Just stop it, everybody.
That's all Twitter is, dude. That's all Twitter is. That's all. That's
why you bought it.
It doesn't. Well, I know it doesn't, but dude, his entire financial life depends on it now.
He bought it to suppress the information that comes out about him.
Yes,
that's how fucking simple it is.
And his friends. Yeah. That dude.
We all know he's a piece of shit. The guy's a piece of shit.
Totally.
He is.
Yeah. Totally. He bought a $44 billion narrative driver is what he did.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to drive the bus.
It's working against him.
Yeah.
He's working against him, right?
Like, he's just making it worse.
You want to know how bad it got last night? This will make sense to you, Locke. This is how bad it got yesterday. So all the reporters that got pumped did a Twitter Spaces last night. And have you noticed Twitter Spaces does not even exist on your phone this morning?
No.
Doesn't exist.
I didn't notice.
Oh, yeah. It's gone. Reason why Twitter Spaces has gone globally is he shut it off. Shut it off last night. It might be back now. I don't know.
Oh, it's back. You know what? You're right. And it took a minute for it to reload, but it seems to be back.
Yeah. Twitter Spaces is now back.
Where
just
is
came
it?
back in the last hour.
The middle button on the bottom.
Let me show you what he did. So
that thing.
All the reporters that had been banned by Elon yesterday, just for reporting on this story, just like literally for reporting on it, held a Twitter Spaces. During the Spaces, Elon pops in to chat with him, where he blows a couple of gaskets, hangs up, then deletes the recording of it from Twitter head office, and shuts off Twitter Spaces globally at about 11 o'clock last night. So there was no recording of it. No one had Twitter Spaces yesterday. If you were doing one and you were in the middle of it, go fuck yourself. You weren't doing one or in the middle of it after that.
God.
That's how fucking unbelievably soft this guy is, dude. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Never. And I'm not mad. I don't care. It's just like interruption after interruption, hit after hit, soft move after soft move, because he's fucking paper thin. Here's the audio of it. It doesn't exist anywhere, by the way, this audio. And someone sent it to me today. Here's the audio where Elon jumps in and then fucking fucks off. And by the way, gets corrected viciously in the middle of it, which is why he left. He lies twice, gets corrected. He's like, I'm out.
Well, as I'm sure everyone who's been doxed would agree, showing real-time information about somebody's location is inappropriate, and I think everyone on this call would not like that to be done to them. And there's not going to be any distinction in the future between journalists, so-called journalists, and regular people. Everyone's going to be treated the same. You're not special because you're a journalist. You're a Twitter. You're a citizen. So no special treatment. You dox, you get suspended. End of story. So ban evasion, or trying to be clever about it, like, oh, I posted a link to the real-time information, is obviously simply trying to evade the meaning. There's no different than actually showing real-time information.
So when you're saying posting a link to it, I mean, some of the people like Drew and Ryan Mack from the New York Times who were banned were they were reporting on it in the course of sort of pretty normal journalistic endeavors. You consider that like a tricky attempt at ban evasion?
You show the link to the real-time information, ban evasion, obviously.
Drew, I don't think you were posting the real-time information, right?
I mean, you're suggesting that we're sharing your address, which is not true. And you're suggesting that we're posting. We never. I never posted your address.
You posted a link to the address.
We posted a link. In the course of reporting about Elon Jet, we posted links to Elon Jet, which are now not online and now banned on Twitter. And Twitter also, of course, marks even the Instagram and Mastodon accounts of Elon Jet as harmful. Using, we have to acknowledge, using the same exact link blocking technique that you have criticized as part of the Hunter Biden New York Post story in 2020. So what is different here and there?
No more acceptable for me. It's no more acceptable for me, for you, than it is for me. Same thing. So anyway.
So it's unacceptable what you're doing?
No. What you dox, you get suspended. End of story. That's it.
Elon.
I mean, the guy is. You can call him a genius, but I didn't hear a genius on that phone call. I didn't hear a genius on that Spaces. And by the way, second that was done, he bolted. He calls his engineers. He's like, turn off Spaces completely. The world, by the way. And the guy's like, what? And he's like, yeah, do it. So he does it. And then he's like, and I want you to nuke 7 accounts. Bing, bing, bing. Immediately. Nuked all those people that were on the actual Twitter Spaces so they can't do their jobs.
That's
right. That's where it matters. That's why it matters. Anyway, fucking fascinating time, isn't it? I know you're sick of it.
Society lends a lot of credit.
It's so Like I said, it just drives me crazy. Like you can't. There's nothing that we can do about this guy. There's nothing
other than talk about it and report on it. Dude, I'm not doing anything about it other than having a conversation about it. I think it's fucking wild.
I think that's why it frustrates me. And I think the reason why it bothers the other thing is these guys are just going out of their way. They wake up every day and they're just like, what can we do to fuck with Elon today? I mean, he's making it easy, but that's the other thing. It's just like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't understand why these people are going after him constantly.
Well, and dude, and it's not even what he's doing at Twitter. Like, he is in trouble at Tesla. This is today's closing stock price. It's not even closed yet. They lost 7.5% of their total stock price today. That is, if I'm not mistaken, in the neighborhood of $30 billion more dollars. And
is that him?
Now he's got.
Because the whole stock market took a shit.
Yeah, no, well, but this
stocks
investors are all now talking up. They're all saying, "Hey, listen, he needs to go." Like the big Tesla's biggest investor, this Chinese dude, I can't pronounce his name, doesn't matter. He put out this thing today. He's like Leo Wan, is that his name?
Yeah.
He put out this thing. He's like, Twitter, we don't have a CEO anymore. Like, this guy has to fucking go. We need a real leader in here.
Yeah.
And he's got billions. And he's like, I was a billionaire before that. Leo Guan, member of Tesla's largest individual shareholders, calling a leadership change, tweeting, Elon abandoned Tesla. Tesla has no working CEO. Tesla needs and deserves to have a working full-time CEO.
He's the largest individual shareholder in the company. Like, he pulls some fucking weight in that boardroom. So when he's tweeting shit like that,
it's awesome. Dude, it's awesome. This is exciting. You know who joins us to talk about that and much more? Please welcome from the Breakdown Alberta podcast, Nate Pike, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
Nate,
what's up, man?
Good to see you.
It's like Rise Against the dumpster fire over here.
Yeah. You a big Rise Against fan? You got a Rise Against shirt?
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, I don't just have the shirt. I got that as well.
Oh wow!
Are a big
tattoos.
I like bands enough to get their shirts. I don't think I like them enough to get a tattoo, Nate.
I got a bunch of. I got Rise Against, Nine Inch Nails, Rollins, and Rancid on this arm.
So what happens if one of them you find out one of them is like a diddler or something? What happens?
I'm not worried about any of those bands.
I'm sure a lot of people said that about Jared from Subway.
In that scene.
Rollins has been around for so very long. I don't think that's
so was Dr. Huxtable. So I'm just saying, okay.
It's a different culture though. The stand-up comedy culture versus the punk band culture. I think, especially in the circles that those punk bands move in, things tend to be a lot less forgiving when it comes to hypocrisy.
You're gonna have to get that Gary Glitter tattoo taken off your shoulder blade, though.
Damn it!
Yeah,
I've heard that removal sucks.
Nate Pike, the Breakdown is the name of the podcast. One of my favorites. He keeps an eye on what's going on in Alberta, and there's a lot going on in Alberta. Before we get to Danielle Smith in Alberta and the Sovereignty Act, which, by the way, just looks marvelous. Lachlan's face. He's just like, guys, can we have some fun today instead of talking about things that piss me off?
He's so mad. All week he's been so
your
mad.
Thoughts on you're in the world of news, delivering news. People have tried to silence you. People have tried to silence me. We get it. What do you make of Elon getting rid of journalists on Twitter? What do you make of that?
He's got some temper issues, I think. He bought the platform. It's a private platform. He's allowed to do whatever he wants with it, technical. But I don't think it's a good look for him by any stretch of the imagination. At the end of the day, I mean, there's no shortage of people. I haven't been on the Twitter machine all that much today, but there's been no shortage of people pointing out that for a free speech absolutionist to be deleting people who are critical of him.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to I'll put it this way. I don't have an Elon Musk tattoo. So
yeah, a lot of people do.
I have a Jeff Bezos tramp stamp. That's what I'm going for next. I love Amazon, so I think
the biggest issue right now with him owning Twitter is that people have this idea of what it is and what it represents in society.
Sure, but that's a lie.
What's that story, Nate?
I said, sure, but that's a lie. I mean,
Well,
the reality is that there's these idealistic views around social media. There's these idealistic views around free speech.
Thank
But these
you.
are these
what I
are
was
private
saying earlier.
platforms.
Yeah.
Facebook is owned by private people. So when people get
Yes.
all like, "Oh, Facebook is censoring my freedom of speech," that's like going into somebody's living room and demanding that you get to rearrange the furniture and say whatever you want to say. You're in somebody else's living room. If they
Yeah.
choose to invite you there, if they choose to let you there, that's one thing. But it's still, for all intents and purposes, it's digital private property that you're being allowed to access. And
Yep.
the notion, I mean, anybody who looks at any social media platform, I think with the expectation of absolute free speech, that's not how any of that works.
Well,
No.
you know what? It's funny because we talk about this all the time, and we talked
Nate.
about it, with the Biden suppression stuff and the Hunter. I don't care. I mean, I've never cared about suppression. Our stuff is suppressed. Fucking Lynn's is shadow banned. We'll get to that in just a second. But the fascinating part is everybody that signs up for these platforms, when they do it, they go through a litany of check boxes, right? Marks that you got to put. It's like, I get that. Yep, I get that. If I do that, I'm out. And there's this little thing that says, by the way, we own this. And at any point in time, we can get rid of you anytime. Doesn't matter what you think. And you have no recourse and go fuck yourself. That's effectively legally what it says. And I'm a big fan of that,
YouTube
right?
as
Like,
well.
when you sign up, you should know what's going on. What you can't do in the middle of it is change the rules. It's like the same thing with kids. Like, if you change the rules on your kids in the middle of the fucking lives, they'll be like, what are you doing? You're fucking, because this is my life. And that's how people look at it. To your point, they look at their account like that's mine. It's not ours. We're fucking borrowing our Twitter accounts. We're borrowing our social media accounts, to your point. So watching all the softies react like, you just seriously invaded my human rights, man. It's like, no, they didn't. And I get that. I just love all the different parts of the conversation about free speech, about journalism.
The hypocrisy is so, it's so hard to digest for me, right? And it happens on both sides. It was happening before there was the hypocrisy. They were making rules and deciding on things based on a philosophy in that building in San Francisco, and now it's switched to the other foot, and everyone's freaking out about that as well. You can't fucking win. Like, you can't.
Well, it's not about winning. It's just about trying to figure it out. Yeah, go ahead, Lynn. Sorry.
I was going to say, can I add to what you were saying about the hypocrisy and how it is a digital private property space? It's also what we've done as a society to lend credit and undue credit to social media. Like, we've some people have lulled themselves into this reality that everything you see online is real. And that's why we're in the fucking problems that we're in. And that's why the entire pond is polluted.
Well put, Lynn.
Because we all of a sudden saw the new drinking water source and went, let's go drink from there. And somebody pissed in it, and people keep pissing in it, and we keep drinking it. And it's some of us know not to drink too much of it, and some of us rely on it. And that's the problem. You can't rely on social media. You can't.
But that's
blue check
what
mark
it
or
is
no
generally
blue check
used
mark?
for. But when it started, dude, like, you guys all know when social media started, right? I was in radio, and they're like, you got to get on here because it's just a way for more people to be exposed to your things, right? The whole idea of exposure has changed into manipulation. Like, this is, they use these platforms for one reason and one reason only. That's to show you this performative perception of their lives or their issues or their things, so that you think, oh, fuck, I got to get on the train. Like, go to Alberta. Everything in Alberta, same with Ontario, everything on social media about Alberta is like, there's legitimacy behind craziness. Don't worry. This is just an alternative perception. This is just an alternative reality, Nate. To that point, that's what's going on everywhere. I mean, you're susceptible to it. We're susceptible to it. And this is legitimately the ill of social media, is they want to rally people around a perception that just isn't real, Nate.
I don't disagree. I think part of the conversation that is worth having. I mean, Bowie, there's a clip from Bowie that makes the rounds every once in a while where he talks about sort of the internet and social media and all of that. And he could see there's two sides to every coin. So on one side of the coin, absolutely, there's people who have, and corporations who have weaponized social media and have done horrible, very, very bad things with it. But at the same time, I take a look at when I first started out playing music in the late 80s, early 90s. cringed a little bit. My kids love to point out that we're closer to the 40s than that, the 2040s. But that's to get exposure, to be able to build any kind of an audience in that time period was incredibly difficult. And now anybody who has access to the internet or social media has the ability to start to build an audience. So I think that there's, part of the conversation is there's definitely a responsibility of the people who are putting the content out there to not be monsters about it. And there's certainly people who do know how to weaponize it. But I think that the other part of the conversation is we created this gigantic machine that allows people to say whatever they want to say. And we didn't really have a whole lot of conversations about, and this is what bullshit smells like on the internet. Yeah. We didn't have that conversation. So that to me is part of the conversation that I still think is important to have. I mean, it's certainly part of the ethos here at the Breakdown, where we try to have serious conversations, but at the same time, like a week and a half ago, I did an interview with a hand puppet cat. So be mindful is all I'm saying.
Well, the hand puppet cat wasn't a dick about it. That's the thing. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was a great interview.
I like what you're saying, Nate. I like what you're saying, and I've actually I actually have an example of that too. I think we also have to try to be aware of what it is the other side might be thinking, right? Because quite often it's quite easy for us to get triggered by something and then just jump in and just wade around in that pool of disgust for whatever it is that you are triggered by. Like the Trump thing, for instance. I was fascinated by that. And I legitimately went on the air today and I said, somebody that that actually supports him, that thinks that Trump, isn't that awesome? That Trump was a good idea, that he should have won, that he maybe did win. I need a Trump supporter to call me, because when I saw this, I was like, what the? And so we got a guy on our show today who I affectionately refer to as Rob the Dick, and he is a Trump supporter. And he said to me, he goes, I think it's a good idea. And I'm like, okay, well, explain why it's a good idea. He goes, because if you're a politician and you need money to run your campaign, you would send out a mass email or whatever, and you'd say, hey, listen, I'm running in the primaries. DeSantis is kicking my ass. I need any amount of money you can give me. Give me $20 because we got to get the word out there about why it's a better idea to vote for me than it is to vote for that dick from Florida. And they get nothing. And Rob the Dick goes, I get a chance to maybe golf with him.
But I think there's even more to it than that, because and this is one of the fascinating things to me, because I think you're right. The way that we look at these things changes.
That's how they think. And that's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. How they think. Literally, by the way, 90% of people that bought those, like of the humans that bought them, not the Russians that bought them, because a bunch of Russians bought them, which is fucking great. The tweets that are going around of people going, I don't have access to it. It's in my email, but I can't access to it. It's unbelievable today. So it's just a lie. But anyway, go ahead, Nate. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. All I was going to say is they're sold out. And there's a lot of people who look at that. I mean, my immediate reaction was, is this a joke? Like, what is going on? It looked like
a joke.
He's dressed up in a Superman costume. Like, nobody can possibly take him seriously. But there is a element of his base that looks at that and goes, see, he's having fun. He's not taking himself too seriously. And
so well known,
better than Lincoln, better than Washington. I laughed out loud when I heard that.
But that's part of the piece that I think we need to do a better job of understanding, is that as much as, there's, oh boy, is there jokes to be made about that. There are a lot of people who look at that and go, see, he's not taking himself too seriously. He's a man of the people. And that's what his base loves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. And they love trading cards too, because they're all dumb fucking hillbillies. So hey, everybody won yesterday.
The first tweet that I saw this morning after I commented on it, I was like, well, listen, maybe we got to give him a little bit of credit. I mean, as silly as it sounds, this whole thing, he did sell it out in 12 hours, and then immediately under another, that's fucking fake news. That's right-wing propaganda. He didn't sell it out. I'm like, really? We're going there now, eh? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I'll tell you, just so you know,
maybe
and I
he
got
did
this
sell it.
from Carl, Eichenwild, I believe his name is. He's his Substack. He's a reporter, very good dude. He's like another. This is the guy who's behind it. Former Ukrainian Prime Minister Pavlo Lazarenko, who was once ranked the 8th most corrupt official in the world by a watchdog group, Transparency International. In 2004, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison in California for money laundering, extortion, scam that used shell companies and offshore bank accounts to hide Ukrainian stolen government funds. I mean, it's there. It's all right there. I mean, it is. It's just fucking great. I love it, dude. That's why I want to talk to you about Alberta, because I don't think Danielle Smith is that far away from being that kind of person. I mean, we can talk about the GoFundMe grift and all the other stuff where she donated money back to herself for a tax-deductible receipt. We'll get to that. But this week she was all world, Nate. I'm going to play this video and then we'll get to it.
You can't defend this. Like,
no, you can't.
It's impossible.
I mean,
I don't care what side of the fence you are. There's just no way that you might want to have her children. You might want to have children with her. You can't defend this. You just you can't.
No, this is impossible. Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, comparing taxpayer suffering of Albertans to the same suffering the Indigenous people have suffered across Canada and especially in Alberta for the past 400 years. Let's watch it together and then watch her walk it back. This is from Nate's website, The Breakdown. This is from his Twitter handle. You can go to The Breakdown AB on Twitter and you can follow him right there. But let's watch it together.
This is all about making sure that Ottawa stays out of our jurisdiction. The way I've described it to the chiefs that I've spoken with is that they have fought a battle over the last number of years to get sovereignty respected and to extract themselves from the paternalistic Indian Act. We get treated the exact same way from Ottawa. They interfere in our jurisdiction all the time, and we are looking forward to pushing back and being treated exactly like Quebec.
The Premier.
Mr. Speaker, that was certainly not the intention of my comments, and if it was taken that way, I absolutely apologize for that.
Order. The Honourable the Premier has the call.
My intention was to demonstrate that the process that our First Nations have gone through to develop sovereignty over their own affairs and extract themselves from the Indian Act is the process that we are following in going through and asserting our rights under the Constitution. I take inspiration from what the First Nations have done, and I'm looking forward to continue engaging and consulting with them.
Yeah, that was even worse in my opinion.
Yeah.
We'll go to Nate. And then we'll go to Locke, our Alberta boys. Nate, your thoughts. I kind of already know them by your side, but let's share them with people.
So there's a lot to unpack here. And I think that the very first thing that has to be said is anybody who has any sort of functional working knowledge of the history of Canada needs to be out front and condemning it, because it's just gross. It's gross and it's wrong and it's terrible. And it's part of a pattern of behavior for Smith. And this is the thing that is really problematic for the province of Alberta, because we saw Smith in the past. She's rolled out, I'm going to say lies, whereas she's claimed that she has Indigenous heritage. That's been demonstrated to be not true. She hasn't apologized for that. She was just like, oh, well, that's what like my uncle told me at the dinner table, which is super, super gross. The comments that she made about Alberta being treated the same as Indigenous people in Canada is... it's just so wrong. I mean, even if we ignore the very real history, the way that she speaks about the Indian Act gives people the impression that the Indian Act isn't a thing anymore. And it absolutely is. It's something that Indigenous, First Nations, Métis people still have to deal with every single day. It has imposed orders of governance on cultures that have existed for thousands of years, and it gets really, really complicated really, really quick. And for Smith to stand up in the legislature on record and not only misrepresent that, but to try to equate the cultural genocide, the genocide. I mean, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is still a thing. There's a dump that people are blockading because they're trying to retrieve the bodies of people who were murdered. That's happening right now.
Did they fire that cop? They had. Please tell me someone told me they fired the head of the police in Winnipeg for not searching that dump.
I don't know the Winnipeg too well, but I mean, the point is that this is an ongoing thing. And for Smith to make the claim that it's, they've extricated themselves from the Patriarchal Indian Act is just unmitigated bullshit. And for her to turn around and try to say, it's the process I was talking about is still also false. But there's some other pieces to this story that I think are really, really important, because one of the other things that happened in the background with this is the day that she made the apology, before she made that apology, she showed up for a meeting with the Treaty 6 chiefs. Which is a huge part of Alberta. For anybody who doesn't know, all of Alberta is treaty land, which is why separatism won't work, but that's a whole different conversation. But she showed up for a meeting with them, and the meeting went so shitty that the Treaty 6 chiefs released a press statement where they said, yeah, so we sat down with her. It's very clear she doesn't have a clue what she's talking about, and we absolutely don't want anyone walking away from this meeting thinking that this was the appropriate type of consultation, because it completely wasn't. I've never seen in Alberta any treaty chiefs preemptively say, we feel like that we're going to be so badly misrepresented that we're going to preemptively release a statement saying, no, whatever she says is not true. Like, that's unbelievable. And the kicker to the whole thing, to me, is that part of Danielle Smith's whole campaign in the UCP leadership race, it's certainly something that she's continued to talk about, is the notion that she's going to work with don't say that, but work with Indigenous peoples to get these economic corridors to ports that won't work because physics. And at the same time as she's making these promises, she's doing more than any premier in living memory has done to piss off and alienate Indigenous peoples. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing to me that nobody is saying to her on her team, please stop this. You're hurting.
That was hold
everybody.
On, Nate. Can I jump in here at this point? Because that was my point. I've been saying this out loud for the last couple of days. People in positions of power have people they trust to sit down and talk to them, to go over an agenda, to keep them on task, to help them with concepts they might not understand. Like, she's got research people, she's got media people, she's got access to a team that could be helping her out before she goes and does she's got writers. There has to have been a conversation. Just stay away from the Indigenous topic, Danielle.
Whatever you do, don't compare white taxpayer suffering in Alberta to the genocide.
How many times
of centuries of genocide of Indigenous people? And because that would generally be the job of that person, but that person doesn't exist. Is that what you're saying? Does she not have someone that has it? Like is Lochnlin asking a good question? Does she not have people that go like Tyler Shandro, fucking idiot? The guy from what's his name, Taves, fucking idiot. Are any of the fucking idiots saying, "Hey, quit being a fucking idiot," or are they all just going, "Man, fuck, that's just"?
Well, but here's the thing, and I mean, you have to know that I'm going to pivot to this because this was a smaller story on the national scale, but I think it's just as bad, if not worse, because the Minister of Advanced Education, Demetrius Nicolaides, came out and released an educational video where he talked about how Alberta is the most awesomest of all of the awesome things, and we win at everything, and it's going to be Alberta first, last, and always. I'll get to that slogan in a second. But in the video, he references an MLA who served in the early 1900s, who wrote a book. And by book, I mean white supremacist manual. And I wish I was being hyperbolic, but I'm not, because this is an actual quote from the book of this MLA. Admission of colored people, yellow or black, constitutes a possible menace to the supremacy of the white race and can rightly be objected to under the law of self-preservation. This is the book. This isn't, I'm not saying that, oh, he talked about the guy. He used the book in the video. He referenced the book directly in the video. And at the end of the video, he threw out the quote from this inspirational historical figure who was just racist as fuck. I can swear here. I don't do it on my show, but I can swear here. So
are you serious?
Let it fly.
You don't swear on your show?
I try really hard not to.
Yeah, but I've heard you swear at least once or twice, but it's not like when you're here, if you don't do it, we don't trust you. So please.
There we go.
All right.
So he said,
you can get all your clips, Nate, after dark.
He threw out the quote, Alberta first, last, and forever. He attributed it to the MLA, who attributed it to Wilfrid Laurier. But a bunch of researchers have done a bunch of work in trying to find, hey, where did Wilfrid Laurier say that? And it's nowhere. But where it does exist is the fucking Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, shit.
The Klan.
So, they're citing a book that was written by a supreme racist. And you've got the guy. What's the name of this Demetrius guy?
Demetrius Nicolaides. He's the Minister of Advanced Education in the province of
Alberta. Minister of Advanced Education is using a book from 1918 that says, "Hey, listen, Alberta first, last, and always." That's the title of the book, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. First, last, fuck you. And in the book, it's like, "Hey, listen, we need to do this," and they're like, "Yeah, let's do what this guy says." But also in the book, it's like, plus we don't allow blacks or Asians in the country because listen, this is going to fuck everything up. Is that what you're saying?
The literal quote is, admission of colored people, yellow or black, constitutes a possible menace to the supremacy of the white race and can rightly be objected to under the law of self-preservation. That is the literal quote. I'm reading the page from the book right here. That's one quote of many. I mean, there's another quote that's referred to in an incredible Twitter thread that was done by a gentleman named David Taves. Every race has its own particular genius, and in an ideal condition of affairs, each distinct race would be free to govern itself to suit its own taste. It's a non-stop, like the whole book is literally a white supremacist manual from the 1910s.
Jesus Christ.
And that's unbelievable.
This is the book. I mean, there's no shortage. You don't have to look far to find editorial pieces in Alberta going back to the formation of Alberta in 1905, where people have said, "Oh, we're being treated unfair." It's not, you don't have to fucking Google it, but to deliberately pick out this book and highlight it as the example that people should be following. Here's this great historical figure who also said, here's another quote, "We do not claim, whatever others may, that all races are equal. And if Alberta is peopled by an inferior race to that of Eastern Canada, we admit Eastern Canada's right to subject Alberta to her interests." So if Eastern Canada somehow manages to stay white enough for this guy, then it's okay for Eastern Canada to subject. But if we keep Alberta nice and white and pure, then we can push back against Eastern Canada.
I kind of read that a little bit differently, Nate. It sounded more like he was trying to say, if Ontario is more racist than us, then we'll lean on that.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair interpretation.
That'll trump our racism
is better.
Yeah,
that's whoever's what we want.
More racist wins that day. That's how I read that. I mean,
but the reality is, and here's the thing.
Ontario's a close second, by the way, just so you know. We're right there with Saskatchewan for third.
I wasn't going to judge, but this isn't hyperbole. This isn't like some wild interpretation. This is demonstrable. This is documented. This is real. We have Danielle Smith on video saying the plight of the Western taxpayer is the same thing as fucking genocide. And then we have the Minister of Advanced Education coming out and saying, you know what? Everybody should read this book. He put a picture of the cover of the book in his video.
Tell me he's not putting that into the curriculum.
Oh, you want to talk about the curriculum? You want to talk about the social studies curriculum?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, come on. Tell me.
So we don't know. We don't know what's going on with the social studies curriculum, but when it first came out, there was all kinds, demonstrably factual errors. one of the learning goals that existed in the first draft of the social studies curriculum is you show kids a map of the globe, and you get them to identify where gravity is. Find gravity on a globe.
What?
I'm not even kidding. I got the mug. Like, this is the first draft of the curriculum that was launched. There's a reason why so many parents in Alberta lit their hair on fire when that first curriculum came out, because there were so many factual errors. There was one question where they said
they're just trying to make dumb people there. They're trying to like increase the dumb factor, so the dumb people are like, hey, listen, just do what they say because we're dumb.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
They're so much smarter than me. I should probably just stop thinking.
But
I'll tell you, when I went to school in Alberta, real quick, I went to school in Alberta, and when I was a kid, St. Paul, Alberta, lived in a beautiful town. And you know what I learned about the Indigenous people? That they were in the white man's way, and we came here and they had Thanksgiving turkey with us, and everything's great, and they're really happy. And I'm like, they don't seem too happy when I walk downtown. Like, they don't seem
heard of residential schools.
And I remember saying to my dad, I'm like, yeah, Indigenous people seem to be quite angry. And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that the things you're teaching us aren't real. And he's like, whatever. We live in Alberta. Everything's real here. I'm like, no, I'm not. But now it makes sense, because the first thing, like, if you look at what's going on in Ukraine with Russia, Russia's literally just the first thing they did when they took over the Donbas regions. They're like, let's re-educate the fuck out of this whole region so no one believes any of the things they were taught. Isn't that kind of the same thing? No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when the social studies curriculum was first launched, there were a lot of people who were really upset about it, because it was largely, by most reports, written by one guy who was a buddy of the premier at the time, Jason Kenney. That guy has plenty of articles that he's written where he said basically, well, they keep using this word genocide, but was it really that bad? Aren't we just allowing them to perpetuate victimhood? Like the people who have been
that's what John Kay does all day on Twitter.
The people who have been brought in to, they've walked the social studies curriculum back, but they have included some of the changes that they made to the curriculum are absolutely insane. You want to know where you're going to learn about financial literacy now in the new curriculum?
Where?
Phys ed.
Financial literacy in phys ed. Make it make sense, Nate.
Oh, I can't. I make jokes about it. That's what we do on my show.
Days.
But this is the reality. Yeah, no, there's a whole, they rotate kids from the, like, okay, you're going to go run and jump and play and do the physical exercise stuff that you do in phys ed, but then we're going to rotate you out and talk about basically what used to be career and life management in the phys ed time frame. Like, it's absolutely, I wish I was making even a part of this up. I really, really do.
I got you have young kids, Nate?
I do.
Okay, so what do you do? What do you do? Because I've got older kids that went through the public school system here in Ontario and private school system. Yes, I was a private school kid. And I believe they got a pretty decent education. I believe my kid. Oh yeah, I used to be a wheel. But and now, and I have conversations with him. Like, my youngest guy's a sponge for like the Indigenous stuff. He's like, explain this to me. And I'm like, well, this is what actually happened. You haven't been taught this. He had his actual religion teacher last year. He got fired for this. I put out a tweet about it and had like tens of thousands of views. It's like, and my kid sent me a text and he's like, Dad, we got a problem in my religion class. I'm like, what's the problem? He's like, my religion teacher just said, and I quote, do you guys remember this tweet?
I remember
you talking about this, yeah.
And I quote, it's not that big of a deal because most of the Indians were super sick when they got to the reservation anyway, or the residential school anyway. And I'm like, I'm like, hang on a second. So I sent the principal this note. I'm like, can you just kind of go over the religious curriculum for the residential schools and truth and reconciliation with me, just so I know. And not only did they say, no, we're not going to talk to you about it, they said, we're just going to deal with the teacher and we're not going to talk to you about it again. So they refused to actually talk to me about what they were teaching. Now, this is a Catholic school that he goes to. So, this is probably part of the curriculum where they're like, don't listen to any of the Indians. It was all Catholics and the Catholics are best and all the other stuff. Like, that's literally what I think a lot of my kids have been taught. Right. So I've had to unteach them and then reinsert the real information. And they've all been, to an individual, shocked that they didn't learn this in school. Like, none of us learned it in school.
None of us did. Yeah.
I started with my kids, like, before they were in school, quite frankly. And it wasn't just, here's Nate, the middle-aged white guy's take on the history of Canada and the genocide and oppression of First Nations people. We've been taking my kids to places where they can actually hear it from elders and First Nations leaders themselves. And the kicker to the whole thing for me, and this is why it's so frustrating. My kids and I have had conversations with First Nations elders who lived through residential schools, who lost family members to residential schools through a variety of deeply horrifying ways. And what they've gotten from those elders is unvarnished truth, but grace. And that's, there's this whole frailty of, we don't want to acknowledge, that this country was built in the way that it was. But if you talk to a lot of the people who lived through it, a lot of the people who are continuing to try to educate people about what that experience was like for them, and I'm not speaking in a blanket statement. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there who have every reason to be, who are just very, very angry, and I'm not condemning that in any way, shape, or form. But a lot of the people who have chosen to try to walk the path of truth and reconciliation that I've encountered anecdotally are people who we just want to have the conversation. We just want everybody to learn from this. We don't want to hold your nose in it. We just want you to acknowledge it. And the fact that the Premier of Alberta set the province back, I don't fucking know how long, with her comments that she made in the legislature and then doubled down on. And the fact that within 48 hours of that, we also saw the Minister of Advanced Education reference a literal manual on white supremacy. You better believe I've had this conversation with my kids, because the reality is that there's a lot of people who don't have the background, don't have the context, and they see Danielle Smith up there, the leader of their province, saying, well, you know what, it's pretty much the same thing. And they go, okay, well, if Danielle Smith said it, it must be true. And it's
trying to impression a victim class right into everybody's brain. Right.
I mean, the woman was upset about straws. You want to talk about perpetual victimhood? She said one of the reasons
I'm on board the straw thing, though.
You're a human being, though, who hates paper straws. I hate paper straws too.
They don't have
broken clock is right twice a day.
Listen, honestly, Nate.
Lots of alternatives to the paper.
Plastic straws. Bring them back.
Yeah. When the paper straw goes into a plastic top of the drink, I go, please, people, what are we doing?
What are you doing?
The
whole cup is plastic.
Don't even
That's the new thing.
Yeah.
You go to they're like
with the paper straw.
With the paper straw.
Great idea.
Anyway, I have a question for you, because Lochnlin and I were talking about this stain of an individual, Danielle Smith, last night on the phone. And I'm like, I think it's just that she's stupid. Like, I don't necessarily think you arrive at the conclusion that she arrived at, that white Albertan taxpayer suffering is akin to that of the Indigenous people's genocide. I don't think you arrive at that, because like people that have the ability to reason are smarter than those who don't. That to me is just the complete inability to reason. Even if someone said, hey, read this, I would read it and go, I'm not saying that publicly, you stupid fucking idiot. Are you crazy?
No,
but she did, because I think she believes it. So she's been educated the same way most of the people in Alberta have been educated over the past couple hundred years, right? With misinformation, to the point where she's either stupid or she legitimately believes that her suffering is like that of the Indigenous people, which, if you have the ability to reason at all, is fucking ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm. I think she's just selfish. I think it's always about Danielle Smith.
Yeah.
I think that and I mean, no disrespect to anyone who's ever been involved in talk radio, but she spent quite a few years on talk radio where her whole thing was, I'm going to try to find the most confrontational way to say things. I'm going to try to find the way to ensure that my audience is happy with me always. She still does it. She's got a radio show that airs on Saturdays called Your Province, Your Premier. And I mean, there was a guy who called in on last Saturday, who said, hey, you know what? What if we just took all the homeless people and we put them in an old prison and we made laws so that the police could take them there forcefully? How would that be? And Smith's reaction was, well, the prison's not in great shape anymore, but I think you're 100% on the right track. She doesn't know how to say to people who are expressing support for her, that's wrong and that's a terrible idea. Please stop it. She doesn't do that. I've never seen a single example of her saying, no, there's a line, you're crossing it, not okay. Everything is about Danielle Smith. I mean, the fact that she invoked straws as the reason why she needed to try to put forward legislation that was later gutted, but still presents major constitutional problems. The fact that she did that, it's all about, what does Danielle Smith want? And the fact that the Treaty 6 chiefs even came out and said, this woman doesn't have a clue. She doesn't have a clue about history. She doesn't have a clue.
Yeah.
The fact that they felt the need, that the conversation went so badly and they felt so not heard.
Yeah.
That is, it's the Danielle Smith show. I mean, that's all that it is.
That's an interesting perspective. Because that's for me, that's what's been I've been going back and forth with this. Is she an idiot? Like why would you jump into this? So that makes sense. She is so hyper focused on this strategy of maintaining the path that she thinks she needs to maintain for her base to get in, that she is not using reason to make decisions. The thing is too, and I'll just back up what Nate was saying about the grace and the problem with where we're at right now in history is a lot of us are being introduced to something we probably should have known about, but we weren't. And everyone's going to react differently when you're presented with information that conflicts with what you grew up thinking you knew. And so that's part of the reason why the Indigenous community, I think, there's you alluded to it, Nate. There's a faction that is angry as hell, and they have the right to be. But there is a faction of that population and that group that is just saying, "Hey, listen, we just want you to be aware of what we went through and our families went through, and how it has moved through the generations, and how it has shaped us." And why we are where we are right now, because you need to understand this so that we can all get on the same page. So you're going to get groups of people that didn't know about it, and everyone's going to get into different groups, right? There's like the holy shit, I need to tell my kids about this group. And then there's the group with like, really? That happened? Well, I need more information. And then there's the group where it's like, that didn't fucking happen. They got to be lying. They're playing the victim card. Right. So we're at an interesting point with this as we're all digesting it. And I don't think it's just in Alberta. I think it's across the country. And as we move forward, hopefully we'll make better decisions for everybody involved. Unfortunately, the more she speaks, the more I think everybody has to realize that this fucking woman should not be running this province.
No.
Like
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, here's where I land with it. If it seems like Danielle Smith doesn't care, it's because Danielle Smith doesn't care.
Yeah. She's trying to tell you out loud.
Yeah. She has no concerns with First Nations or Indigenous issues. She'll play the role literally, Cherokee and stuff. But she's not willing to do any of the work or listening, and the tragedy of it is she's actually in a position where she could in substantive ways move that forward, but instead what she's doing is pissing everybody off and ignoring them. I mean, all of the treaties, all of them in in Alberta, all of the treaty chiefs have said, hey, please stop with the Sovereignty Act. It's very bad. We don't like it, and it is disrespectful. It is also illegal.
She's not going to let go of that.
She's not going to let go of
that. Is fucking
her sovereignty
red
act. Her
meat.
sovereignty act says every white person in Alberta's government gets to now define an Indigenous person's experience. And the Indigenous people in Alberta have a deal with the government of Canada. They do not have a deal with the government of Alberta.
Actually, yeah, they have a deal with the Governor General, who has a direct line to the Crown, is really who they deal with.
But hold on, can I ask a question? And this actually plays into what Dean's asking here, and what we're talking about, which is the confusion that I have about the Sovereignty Act. If something was to be presented to us as a province, or BC or Saskatchewan, from the federal government, and it didn't make sense for us, there has always been a path legally through the courts that we could take in order to stop that, or at least change the impact it would have on our province specifically. Was there not? I mean, they're doing it right now. They're not even using the Sovereignty Act. What's that? Sorry?
There totally is. It's called the courts. I mean, that's the great irony of this whole thing. And that's part of what a lot of legal and constitutional scholars are concerned about, is that there is absolutely a pathway if the federal government introduces some sort of a law that is, Alberta doesn't like, or Alberta believes is unconstitutional, then absolutely.
They're doing it right now without the Sovereignty Act for Bill C-21, right? The firearms.
Well, there's that gets complicated. But in effect, yes, they aren't invoking the Sovereignty Act to take the steps that they're trying to take right now. But the process is supposed to be through the courts. And the reason for that is that's where the legal experts live. That's where the constitutional experts live. But as we've seen from Danielle Smith,
you're telling me Danielle Smith, failed radio chick, is not a constitutional expert or lawyer?
I have seen no
bullshit.
Evidence of that.
Okay.
And she has said publicly
So disappointing.
The reason why we had problems with COVID was because we made the mistake of listening to the experts, and we're not going to do that anymore. So she has an active contempt. That's pretty much a verbatim quote, by the way. She has active contempt for the idea of expertise. And the real danger of the Sovereignty Act in its current incarnation is that the way that it works now is that if an MLA, a cabinet minister, whoever, says, I feel like this is bad for Alberta, I feel like this is unconstitutional, then they put forward a motion. That motion then gets debated in the legislature. Now, I'm not trying to sound dismissive or derisive about the people who are elected to be in the legislature. I'm not making fun of anybody's education or anything like that. But there's a lot of people in the legislature who have absolutely zero legal experience, absolutely zero legal knowledge, zero constitutional experience. There's people in the legislature who ran auto body shops. There's nothing wrong with running an auto body shop. If I want my car fixed, guess where I go? But if I want a complex ruling on constitutional matters, I'm going to talk to a constitutional scholar. But instead, what Danielle Smith has done with this is she said, you know what? I don't want to listen to the experts. We're going to debate it in the legislature, and a bunch of people who have little to no experience with law are going to make the determination as to whether or not that thing, whether it's the straws or the guns, is constitutional. And then we're going to go back and we're going to
straw.
I'm not against. The sea turtles, man.
They get you with the pictures, don't they? Where you're like,
they do.
Same with my son. He became like an Earth guy after seeing the turtle with the straw in his nose. He's like, Dad, the turtles. I'm like, dude, I'm just putting rice in the recycling. Don't worry about it. The turtles aren't going to eat the recycling. So I'm just going to put some organic waste in the recycling. Take it easy.
The problem I have with a lot of this stuff too is let's double down on the straw. When they first started talking about the straws, and they said, listen,
you know what you're doing?
I'm serious about this.
Let me
you guys need to stop.
You know
laughing.
what you're doing? You're like, this conversation has been so heavy for me that I have to pivot to something that has little or no taxing effect on
Can I just take a second to point out the amount of, and I'm going to use a triggering word for some folks, the amount of privilege that it takes to get pissed off over straws. Let's just marinate on that for a second. But you go on.
I am there. I am there, Nate.
Way to set them up so you can take them down. Go ahead, give us your fucking straw anchor.
You can hear them at Arby's.
Hear me out.
They're out of horsey sauce. This is akin to the African famine.
Yeah, hear me out on the fucking straws.
The fuck, Harvey's? I thought it was supposed to be my way. Where's the pickle?
Listen to me.
Yeah.
This is oppression.
Yeah.
Here's the problem I have with eliminating plastic straws. If you were standing up on a podium
Music, please,
and you're telling me that we can't have plastic straws anymore,
yes,
right? Then I want some honesty. I want some fucking honesty from you about why we're at the point where we need to eliminate plastic straws. Okay? And you know what? No one has said out loud because they use it as an environmental thing, the fucking turtles, all that. Like, yes, okay, I feel bad about a turtle choking on a straw. But here's the problem I have with that. We as a country, individual cities, it's different levels of recycling. We all pay our municipalities to come and collect our recycling. I'm a big recycler. I believe in recycling. Okay? But every time I have
we're talking about straws.
Let him finish. Hear me out.
Play him
out.
I love that we're scatting over the music now.
Okay? Yeah. Now.
It's nice and easy.
Now listen.
Okay.
If you come up and you say, listen, we are not keeping up with recycling. There are cases across the country where cities are recycling less than 30% of what they pick up on the curb. Less than 30%. That means they're driving 70% of the stuff they're supposed to be recycling to the landfills. And if somebody just said, we have a problem with that, and we can't keep up with the recycling that we are collecting, so we're going to go out of our way to try to eliminate as much plastic as we possibly can so that we aren't taking 70%, so that number goes down and we recycle more. But they won't do that. Instead, they just got to make everybody feel bad about the fucking environment. And then you seem like an asshole when you are on the air or are you on a podcast going on pro fucking straw, like plastic straw.
Can I rebut?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, I mean, I just want to take a second to really enjoy what you just did there. There's a name for that type of argument, and it's a straw man argument. Because here's the thing, I understand your frustration, and I'll tell you, I share it when it comes to the recycling piece, because you're absolutely right. There has been a lot of misrepresentation for how much is recycled, how effective recycling is being implemented. I don't take anything away from that, but that doesn't mean that we can't take a look at single-use plastics in their current incarnation and go, hey, maybe we could do that better. Maybe that's one way that we could cut down on the stuff that's going to the landfills. I don't have a problem with that.
They won't admit it. Nate, that's the problem I have. We can cycle back to the beginning of the conversation on the podcast today. We're not fucking honest. No one's honest anymore.
Are you just cluing into the fact that we get lied to all the time by government officials and businesses?
No, I've known it forever.
Well, why are you mad now?
That's why I get so angry about these conversations, because they're cyclical. The hypocrisy is just staggering, and it drives me crazy.
And the more guys like us laugh about it, talk about it, we're not doing anything about it. Like, you get upset because we can't do anything about it in the middle of a podcast, but this is doing something about it by laughing at these fucking morons and talking about it and bringing up and citing their hypocrisy and their white racism and their fucking colonial attitudes. Like, that's what we're doing here, which is fun for me. Like, I know you're having a hard time with the plastic straws. I got to be honest with you. As much as I love Nate, I'm kind of on your team. I'm like, hey, let's enough of the performative bullshit already. I get it. But I know it's a lie because they take the fucking paper straw and they put it in a fucking plastic cup. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. But now it just ruins my drinking experience, right? So, but I accept it because I know that if I go out there and I start a campaign about fucking plastic straws and bringing them back,
I want them back.
People will go, well, way to go, white guy.
Here's
That's the big deal today. Fucking plastic straws. Way to go, honky. There are real problem.
There are straws that look like plastic, they feel like plastic, and they're biodegradable. They have all of the same functionality and everything.
Don't even get me going on that. Fucking Booster Juice created a straw that is it feels exactly like plastic. And all these dicks are putting paper straws in these cups. when they could have spent a little bit extra money and bought these fucking straws. Not only that was a Canadian company that created
That's all I'm
that.
saying. That's all I'm
and
saying.
We're not supporting that Canadian company that came up with that straw idea, and it's not right across the country. Some government dickhead should have stepped in and said, where's the booster juice guy that created these fucking straws? Let's give him an award and get him putting these fucking straws in every cup across the country. No, we don't do that.
The booster juice straw guy an award.
Have you had the booster juice straw?
No.
I have.
Better
That's
than
why
fucking plastic. Thank you for bringing up that, Nate.
That's all I'm saying. Is that like the whole argument is fundamentally stupid because there are options out there that we could go with that aren't going to stay permanently lodged up sea turtles' noses, and maybe we should explore those. And to create a constitutional crisis over, I don't want to have to go with the biodegradable straw. I want the old school plastic straw. I mean, here's what my favorite thing is.
Nate, look at him. Look at Locke. It worked. He is so worked up. He's like, he's been trying to find like ways to go. I got to tell you guys, yes, Danielle Smith Sovereignty Act absolutely fucking normies the Indigenous people in this province. Yes, she's fucking a complete fucking piece of shit, but I like her because of the straws. I mean,
it's working.
It worked. It worked, dude.
You know what you guys need? Honestly,
you're a fucking mark.
Nate will admit this. She's going to win because of that fucking plastic straw comment.
I don't think she's going to win because of the plastic straw comment, but I think that there is.
She's going to.
She's going to win because Alberta's racist. Let's be serious.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But we just did an episode where we talked with a political scientist who's been in Alberta and for a very long time, and her predictions are more often than not eerily accurate. And it's fascinating to watch how there are so many people who are saying, you know what, this is the NDP's to lose, and they are actively pursuing that goal, it seems, because
they're losing it.
They're not. I mean, the NDP's whole sandbox, healthcare unions, all of that stuff. And it is mind-blowing to me that we have trailers parked in front of the Children's Hospital in Calgary because there's not enough space. And I don't understand why I'm not seeing an NDP press conference in front of that every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. That is the healthcare piece should be their bread and butter. And in most provincial polling, it is the number one issue for most people. They don't want, there was just a new poll that came out today. It was very clear. People don't want to rock the boat right now. They would like a little bit of stability, please, because if you haven't noticed, the entire world has been on fire for like the last 3 years or so with COVID and instability. So if we could just get like a short break, that would be delightful. But rather than own that space, the NDP are trying to like out economy the UCP. And even if you're paying close attention to some of the NDP's policies, which aren't bad, the reality is that in most people's minds, the United Conservative Party or the Conservative Party or just conservatism, the broad term in Alberta is about economy. Period. You're going to have a really hard time convincing people otherwise. Healthcare, unions, education, all of the stuff that people are actively saying, hey, I actually give a crap about this in a really big way right now. That's where the NDP should be having breakfast every single day, but they're barely showing up for it. And the reality is the UCP are doing an incredibly effective job. The UCP candidate, leadership candidate who was unsuccessful, Rebecca Schultz, released a video this week, which was, I mean, it was a hell of a video. I didn't like anything that she said in it, and there were a lot of lies in it, but it framed the election question. And for anybody who's unfamiliar with an election question, is one of the things that political people try to do in any election is, what is this election going to be about? What is the one thing that we can go back to that people will talk about over and over and over and over again? What is the simple thought that we can repeat that will get into people's ears? What is that thing? millions of dollars are spent on research to trying to identify that thing in every single election that happens in North America, pretty much.
Yep.
And it's very, very clear what the election question that the UCP wants is. If you vote for Rachel Notley, it's a vote for Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
That's the election question. And the NDP are not doing a very good job of saying, if you vote for your local UCP candidate, that's a vote for Danielle Smith.
They should be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other
that's
thing
a
that
vote for
so
the
true.
dumbest chick on planet Earth.
Yeah.
the other thing that they're doing really, really well, and I think
That's a
and
vote
I-
for the biggest trailer pig on the market.
Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith has done a really, really good job of keeping her name in the headlines.
Oh, she
It
sucked
is-
all the oxygen out of the room, no question.
Yeah.
All we talk about in Alberta is like, I'm actually even surprised we even brought up Nutley. Like she is so far back in the conversation, it's not even funny. And I like, I don't have, there's no love lost here for me for the NDP. I
me
just wish
neither.
I had I wish I had an option, other than the two that are in front of me here in Alberta right now. But I was kind of in her corner from the perspective of, we need somebody to give her a run for her money. Danielle Smith, we do. And Nutley's there's nothing there.
I watched her speech yesterday to the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, because one of the things that I've been talking about with a lot of my friends who are politicos,
You really live an exciting life, eh?
I do. I am cutting
tonight,
edge. I do
Friday.
that, and then I like put punk music on for an hour.
Yeah,
and
and then you get crazy with a little C-SPAN the next day.
I was
Maybe a
just
little
gonna say,
CPAC.
watch some old reruns of
Yeah, some
CPAC.
old debates from the 80s, maybe. Huh? That's a crazy Saturday.
That's, it's the weekend. But there was, because one of the conversations has been, where is the fire? I've interviewed Rachel Notley, and when you get her, when she's not scripted Rachel Notley, there's stuff there. But the problem is that she's spending all of her time being scripted Rachel Notley. And one of the things that she's got to stop, because one of the things that I keep hearing from people, one of the things that I'm experiencing myself to some degree, is there's a whole lot of frustration in the province of Alberta right now. There's a whole lot of anger. There's a whole lot of confusion. And if you want me to follow you, you need to show me that you get that. And
Exactly.
I haven't seen, like, there's plenty of pundits, there's plenty of podcast hacks who are going like, what the fuck with the whole assault on Indigenous history in Alberta. I haven't seen that in a big, impactful way from Notley. And I'm one of the people who pays a disproportionate
Danielle
amount of
Smith is
attention.
going to need to apologize. Come on. Get a couple of drinks in you and step up to the podium. I want to hear that snappy, like, you know what I mean? Honestly.
The left can't do that, man. The left doesn't know how to do arena politics when it comes to
Fight
stuff
back.
like this. They do not know
they
how
suck at
to. They really do. They
Well,
always have.
even the joke that she opened the commerce thing with, where she was like, well, Toronto Life made a paper, and Cactus Club Cafe isn't by the airport. It was just like, if you can't land the joke, then don't even try to take it off, because it's, to see somebody who's aspiring to be the premier of Alberta punching down on somebody who wrote a dumb article. That's what it was. It was a dumb article.
And you're
And
talking about the Toronto Life article where the girl says, I moved from
Leduc.
Toronto to Edmonton only to move back because
She moved to
Edmonton
Leduc.
sucks. That was the funniest article I've ever read in my entire life. It was
Sure.
fucking
And
hilarious.
it's-
She's like, because first of all, that's
screamed
the
of
only
privilege.
person in the entire country who saw one of those Alberta posters, Alberta is calling posters, and was like, you know what? I'm in.
I'm going to answer.
I'm in. I'm going to pick up and move my entire fucking family, my whole life, all the way to Alberta for zero good reason other than that fucking poster looks awesome. And then she moves back and she's like, I should have never have moved out there. It sucked so much ass. But in the actual
We should
thing, she
point
was
out
like,
she was in Mississauga.
she was, which is worse. It's like the worst fuck. It's almost as big. It's like Oshawa West. It's
Yeah.
like the fucking worst. Anyway, but it
West,
was the funniest. So she was pimping that. By the way, the whole article was a joke. It wasn't even real. My
That's
understanding is, according to some people, is that someone at Toronto Life was like, we need a way to make Toronto look a little bit better. And he's like, go talk to this girl. And this girl was like, yeah. So like most of the story isn't even true. Like and there's the other reason why I was like, this can't be true. No one saw one of those fucking posters on the TTC and went, I'm moving to Alberta. That's it. And here's the other reason is like, there isn't a fucking human being on this planet that spends 5 nights a week at the Cactus Club without being thrown out for being an extreme fucking alcoholic. So like, seriously.
I learned that a long time ago because I'm a drinker. You can't go back to the same bar all the time.
No,
you got to
you need a circuit.
Mix it up.
You need a circuit. Yeah.
Where 5 different bars think you have a drinking problem instead of just one that thinks you're a real drinker. Yeah.
Grow up. Grow up, people.
Grocery store
fucking tricks
are always awkward.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, go ahead.
That's the realm of people who make jokes. That's the realm of people who provide commentary. But for a political figure to weigh in on something so insignificant,
fake,
it is like, don't try to be relevant. Show me that you are relevant.
She's not. Dude, none of these people are. And it's a great place to end the chat today, because that's what we've dealt with all day. Elon, perception of relevance. Danielle Smith, perception of relevance. Twitter, that's all it is. Instagram, that's all it is. Facebook, are you fucking kidding me? Do you know how many people I see on Facebook going, this is our family in Cabo. We've been here for 2 weeks. We're so in love. We have such a great time. And I know that family, and I know he's got a drinking problem, and I know she's got a benzo issue. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way you guys are having fun after you press snap on that picture. That's like one of those things where you're going like this, look at us family. And then everybody fucking separates as soon as the picture's taken. Like that's the reality we live in. You know, the golden age of anything? We're in the fucking golden age of performance art. That's where we are.
It's true.
Yeah.
Seriously. And if you're smart enough, like Ryan, Lochnlin, Nate, me to a lesser extent, to be able to see through all that, it turns you off.
The one thing I will say,
you out.
Mm-hmm.
I think we do have something to look forward to, in that I think our kids are starting to become a little bit more aware of the bullshit that is constantly surrounding them, right? And I think maybe to a certain extent, we've raised kids, hopefully, that have a better sniffer than maybe we did at their age on picking out bullshit. So, and again, I think that's on all levels. That's maybe not. Well, there's that piece where people don't talk enough to each other, but there is an element of, with my kids, where if they see something that isn't real, they're able to pick up on it really, really quick. Right.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, that roughly half of your province can't. Same with ours, by the way. So same with ours.
That's why she's going to win.
I don't think so. I think she's going to lose. Anyway, Nate, thanks for doing this. Great to see you.
Yeah, no problem. I just have one more question.
Please.
What's the dog's name, Lochnlin?
Kingston. He's a silver lab.
That's cool.
Yeah. 18, just over 18 months old. He's great. It's a COVID dog. I had dogs when I was a kid, and then we got really, really busy, and radio, you move all over the fucking place, and kids were busy. And then my wife had never had a dog. And then I reintroduced it a couple of years ago because she was working from home, and she was like, yeah. So then we went out and did a little research, and he's awesome, man. That's one of the best decisions we've made in a long time. He's such a good guy. Got to take him for a walk.
I love his cameos.
I can't hear the name Kingston without going to Twitter and the Monkey Man by the Headstones.
Well, and it's funny because there's a big relationship in our family with Kingston, because our first date, my wife and I, was a Tragically Hip show. She went to school at Queens. So the kids were like, we need to name him. My favorite movie is True Romance. So I wanted to name him Clarence. And they were like, no, you can't name him Clarence. So, but I got second name. So his name is Kingston Clarence Cross. That's KCC, by the way. Just so everyone knows. Yeah.
Thank God.
Thank you.
Nate Pike, he's the host of The Breakdown Alberta.
Nate.
His name is Nate Pike. The podcast is outstanding. Listen, if you want to be informed, this is your guy. If you're in the province of Alberta, or if you've got an interest in this kind of stuff, Nate does just an impeccable job of delivering the information that people need to be able to be informed about what's really going on and reading between the lines. Follow him on Twitter at The Breakdown AB. Make sure you subscribe to his podcast as well, anywhere you get your fine podcasts, Google, Spotify, etc. You're streaming as well. Is that what where do we get?
Yeah, we've started doing the streaming. We stream. I mean, we're going to take a break for the holidays, but we're streaming on Wednesdays and Sundays. We're doing it at least an hour and a half. And normally it's like we get to the hour and a half mark and I have to be like, no, we're done. We're done. I can't talk anymore.
Let me know 44. If you want me to come on as a straw expert.
I think that would be great. to hear the
You're so fucking weird, man.
Other arguments that
watching what makes you
some
angry
people have
fucking blows my mind. Plastic straws, heating bills,
bike lanes.
Fucking bike lanes.
Oh, I was getting fucked for 10 plus years on my heating bill, and now I'm still angry about it.
Yeah, you know who understands your suffering?
Energy,
dude. Do you know
if
who
I can cost that company
suffering?
Any money? It'll make me sleep better at night.
The Indigenous people of Alberta, according to
but I'm not dumb enough to make that stupid. Like you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Yes, and I realize the insignificant of the pain that I have gone through in my life. I realize how minimal it is compared to what other people are going through.
It's because
I just have a drinking problem and a high heating bill. That's all. That's it.
Nate
now
Pike,
I can't have a fucking A&W root beer anymore.
No, you can. You just drink it out of the cup instead of using a straw. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
See you, pal.
All right, man. Nate Pike, The Breakdown podcast. Great guy. Smart guy. Always like having him on.
I like Nate.
I always learn.
You should have him on your show. You should put him on your radio show. That's what you should do. Bring him on to make sense of the shit that nobody else. But he's in Calgary, and Calgary people and Alberta people don't mix, right? When
Calgary and Edmonton,
it's like Edmonton hates everybody. Calgary just hates Edmonton. They kind of like everybody. Calgary's like the Montreal of Quebec, and Edmonton is the Quebec City of Quebec.
Yeah,
of Alberta.
That's not a bad analogy. But the thing is, like, and again, I keep saying this out loud. I understand everybody's perception of Alberta, and I'm probably not helping with that perception on some of the positions that I take on this podcast. But generally speaking, I think people would be very surprised at how liberal both communities are, Calgary and Edmonton. And the bulk of the population in Edmonton lives in Calgary, or in Alberta lives in Calgary and Edmonton. So we have we have a very educated population as well. So there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of guys like Nate, and there's a lot of really smart people that are looking at what we're going through right now. And they're very bothered. But we've also got a situation where a lot of the people that should be voting are like, and don't vote, are like me, where they just don't feel like there's any representation at all. We have a two-pronged system in Alberta. We have other parties, they don't even fucking touch the two. Yep. It's NDP and UCP, and there's three other parties that are literally like 1%, 2%, 3% of they have zero impact on the election. So if you go into,
they're good at splitting votes, but that's about it.
But they don't split votes, Linz, because they have no representation. They do nothing. They do nothing to actually impact the election. In Ontario, at least you guys had a three-party race where there was a conversation about, hey, listen, if you throw your vote one way or the other, it might actually split this vote, right? In Alberta, we don't have that. You have left and you have right, and the middle is just fucking left alone. Completely.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild political scene in Alberta. It's like you're either
the US.
You're either a socialist or a total fucking fascist.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I know what side of the equation Lachlan's on.
Oh yeah.
I'm Green Party, full on.
Don't we though?
Thanks for doing this, boys. Good to see you. Lochnlin Cross, 957cruisefm.ca. Listen to him every single weekday morning, host of The Locker Room. You can find him on Twitter as well, at Lochnlin Cross. Thanks, bud. And Ryan Lindley, host of the Linz Report. Download, subscribe that wherever you get your fine podcasts. Give him a follow on Twitter as well, at Ryan Lindley. Next week, big week, my man Paul Hendrick, guy from the Leafs broadcast, just retired a couple years ago. Do you remember this guy, Henny? One of the fucking, he's like a legend in Leafland. We're talking Leafs hockey with him. No, that's Joe Bowen. Different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he worked with Joe for a long time on the TV crew. So he's probably got some great stories because he used to travel with the guys. And if I know one thing about Joe was the first guy in the pub and the last guy out of the pub. He's a beauty. Anyway, so Paul Hendrick's going to join us. Mark Saltzman's going to join us to talk about this Chat GPT thing and some Christmas gifts. And we're going to do all that next week. And then we're going to take a break, I think, starting Thursday into the weekend so we can all enjoy our Thanksgivings, holidays, Christmases, etc. So that's the plan.
Can I say something about this week?
Yep.
I know I missed a day and it was probably fantastic, but this was a really good. I had fun this week.
We had a good time.
We had some really good shows and really fun pods this week.
Yeah, it was good. We covered a lot of ground. We'll try and get away from the Elon stuff, but watch Twitter this weekend.
Yeah, you and your guys with the fucking Elon.
No, it's
Musk
just
stuff.
fucking. It's about where we are. It just says so much about everything that's going on, and it's all wrapped up into this one thing.
Yeah.
The back and the middle. I already told you that's where you touch.
Turn it around.
Thanks, Boris. Good to see you.
Quickly before we go tonight, 9 p.m. I'm on Blackballed with James. We're doing a very casual Friday. We're going to try and tone it down as well over there. So it's going to be fun.
You're going to talk about being shadow banned on Twitter. Linz is literally shadow banned on Twitter. Did you know that?
I just went, by the way, breaking news, since we've had this conversation, I just went, and ever since I brought it up, it's since dropped off. So last night it looked like that.
Yeah.
Where it says, no search ban, no whatever, deboosting, but it says you're ghost banned. And then I just went just now, and that has gone back to a green light for my account. So I checked everybody. We were all okay. A couple of notable people.
Okay.
Yeah, you're okay. But
You
yeah, apparently it's got something to do with reply, and it was because I replied to Stephen King's criticism of Elon Musk with our article from the DeanBlundell.com that I wrote last night. And as soon as I posted it, boom, I got shadow banned.
Did you really?
And it lasted for about 12 hours. Yeah.
It's like a minefield. That's why I kind of dig it. It's like a fucking game. Like trying to figure out whether or not he's gonna, because one of the guys that he has doing his stuff, this little fucking loser named Ian Miles Chong, looks like a Zika virus baby. Like literally, he's the ugliest fuck you'll ever see in your life. And I would put him in a fucking. I would take this Ian Miles Chong guy in a soundproof room to fucking school. I swear to God, I would do things to him that they would talk about in books forever. They'd be like, "You won't believe the way he looked after. He looked normal."
I can't believe you just said that.
No, that's what he looks like. I'm pretty sure he's a Zika baby. I don't even give a fuck. Like he's just the biggest piece of shit on the planet. And every 5 minutes, he's like retweeting something that Elon tweets, where he's like, "You're the best guy ever, Elon. Way to go!" And he's like, Elon gives him the fire emoji. This guy has been on my dick for the longest time, like fucking stressing people out around. I could care less.
Yep.
He's been subtweeting me, shit posting me, and watching him literally do this to Elon every day, where he takes his jeans down, he pulls out his shaft, he cradles the balls, and he starts watching Ian Miles Chung at Still Gray on Twitter, by the way. Go through his stuff. Is a gack fest. It's like a daily bukkake video on his Twitter feed for Elon Musk's mayo. It is the most fucked up thing you've ever seen in your life. And so can't remember why I started talking about this guy. Doesn't even matter.
It was my
I'm just
shadow
glad
ban.
I got most of that hatred off.
It was the shadow banning things. Yeah.
Good for you. That's good. That's very cathartic.
Yeah, I feel good.
Can I plug the locker room candles quickly?
Yeah, please.
If you go to 957cruisefm.ca, the candles are still available for sale. We'll probably sell them out this weekend, and the money raised benefiting the Edmonton Food Bank. So it's a good cause. It's a box of 3. It's $32. You can save yourself shipping if you live in the Edmonton area, because Melanie from the Prairie Rose Candle Company that made the candles for us, and created everything for us, is going to be selling them at a craft show called the Holy Handmade Craft Show at Festival Place in Sherwood Park. You know what? It's not much money, but we're raising a bit of money for the Edmonton Food Bank, and I'd like to sell them out. So
awesome. Lockerroom.com.
I really appreciate you letting me plug that.
No problem. Anytime. Lockerroom.ca. Is that where you can find it?
No. If somebody sends me a note, I'll send them a link. They can send it on Twitter.
Okay.
But yes, don't smell the sadness. The candle is sadness. It's evil.
Shit.
But it's on 95.7 Cruise FM, our radio station page. There's a banner there. Click on it. It'll take you to a page to sell.
All right, brother. Yep, appreciate
Beautiful.
it. Great.
Hey, guys,
cause.
have a good weekend.
Yeah,
you too, my man.
You too. One of the things you always do that impresses me is you take time to actually try to help other people with charity initiatives. So keep doing that. It's awesome.
Well, you get these mics, and I think there's a responsibility for all of us, and we've done it here on the podcast network to give back when you can. Man, I'm very lucky to be doing what I do, and the fact that I get up every morning and I'm excited and love going into work is something I don't take for granted. So when I get a chance to give back, I jump in, or if I can help somebody that's doing something to give back, I jump in. So there you go.
Cool.
Awesome. They really need you this time of year. So good for you.
Oh, fuck yeah. They're in trouble.
Maybe
right.
today more than ever. Appreciate it. Lochnlin Cross on Twitter. At Ryan Lindley on Twitter. Thanks, boys. Talk to you soon. That is Nate Pike too. Really appreciate Nate being here. Appreciate everybody stepping in. That was a lot of fun, huh? Some laughs, some education, some mocking, some shit posting, making fun of Ian Miles Chung. I would tear him up for fun. Be great. What a pussy. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget, you can get everything we do at deanblundell.com. Thanks to our friends and sponsors at kivlaw.ca. If you're looking for a great defense attorney, if you are in need of legal assistance in the Southern Ontario loop, Robert at kivlaw.ca. Send him an email. Robert at KIVLAW.ca. He is great. He is good. He is fantastic. He's the only guy I trust in criminal law. So if you need a defense attorney, if you got popped for doing something you shouldn't have done, maybe a bit of a ride program issue, doesn't even matter what it is. If it's just a legal issue, that is your first call every time, your first email, every time. Kivlaw defense attorneys take an interest in you, your life, your freedom, and they make sure that you have all the information so you don't make the same mistakes again. That's what they do. They help you in your life. They don't just get you out of a jam. It's not what it's about. The jam's one thing, helping you understand it, learn from it, and move on from it with as few, cantankerous consequences you can get from stuff like that. That's what their job is, and they do the best job of it in Southern Ontario. Go to kivlaw.ca for more information. Robert at kivlaw.ca. Send him an email today. Also, added Ed's Fine Imports. His Gitch, they're on us. They can be on you too. GITCH3, that is your promo code. Go to Ed's Fine Imports. He'll even send it to you in 2 days. He's got a 2-day thing. We're closing in on Christmas. Get that man some Gitch. Get that dude some underwear. And get them a free pair when you order 3 or more. Gitch 3 is your promo code when you order 3. Tons of colors, super breathable, big pouch in the front for Canadian guys. Canadian-made underwear. Support a Canadian company. That's what you have to do. You have to support a Canadian company. So go to Gitch, Ed's Fine Imports. Gitch 3 is your promo code. Super easy. Very simple. Speaking of Canadian companies, hello and thank you to our friends at Cantork, Canada's assembly tool experts. These guys make rugged, hardworking, beautiful torque wrenches in Canada for Canadians. If you're in the railroad industry, if you're a miner, if you're you work at a nuclear power plant, if you need an industrial torque solution, these guys do it for you. Colin and his gang are incredible. And you know what? They brought all the manufacturing back from overseas to Canada a couple years ago because they want to employ Canadians. They want to help the Canadian economy. He said he had a job to do, and he does it well, does it better than anybody else, and he needed Canadians to do it. So if you're in need of an industrial torque tool, looseners or fasteners, you need to rent one, you want to buy one, you want one made for you, the only person you go to in this entire country, Colin at cantork.com. Check him out online today. Have a great day. Excuse me. See you Monday. I think that's it for me. We've got nothing else to say. Nothing plucky, nothing interesting. I'm just going to leave. Have a great day. Bye.